Listen up. We are back for another episode of the Construction Mentor Podcast. What are we here to do? We're here to promote the construction industry. And what a lot of people don't realize is that it's not just about construction. What do I mean by that? It's not just about people in the field wearing boots and jeans and swinging hammers. There are a lot of careers to support those people, what I would call parallel industries. And that's what we have today. Today, we have two women in metal. So we're going to find out what that means, how they got to where they are in their career, where they find support as women in this industry, which I think is very, very important. I think a lot of young women need to hear that, and where the career could go and how this has an effect on their life, specifically work-life balance. So we're going to get into all of it. And you can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and you can always follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Construction Mentor. And who I have with me today is Tiff and Anna. Guys, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
So let's, I'm great. Thank you for joining. And let's just get right into a little bit of who you are and what exactly, you do from a high level. So people start to get a little bit of a feel of what you do. Tiff, let's start with you.
Sure. My name is Tiff Hutcheson. I'm the general manager at Brightsmith Coaters. So we are a coil coater. We paint metal. And one of the industries that we touch here is the construction industry. So we are selling to manufacturers who make things with pre-painted metal, like the metal roofing, metal siding, the cladding, the fascia, the gutters, the downspouts, everything metal that's pre-painted in the construction field. We can paint that on our production line. We are a small family-owned business in right outside Philadelphia.
And what would small be? Like how many people, what kind of like revenue are we talking?
We have 35 employees here. We're single shift.
Ooh, and I mean, that's small, right? Like that's quote small, but I mean, if you had 35 people standing in front of you, that's a crowded room. So that I would consider that a big company. So that's great because we haven't really had anybody. And I try to explain this to people, especially when it comes to engineers. And you might touch maybe like some structural engineer, but like I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and people don't realize that one of the paths you can take in engineering is you can design HVAC, plumbing, fire protection, but then there's also engineers that concentrate on the actual products themselves from the vendor side, from the manufacturer side. And that's a side. And we work with those as a builder. I'm working with people on your side of the table all the time. Like my entire job revolves around trying to work with people, getting me the dominoes that I need to, set up and actually make the job flow. Right. So it's great to have you on because I haven't had somebody on here that really does that. And Anna, let's go to you. Anna, where are you and what would you say you do?
Sure. So my name is Anna Tompkins. I'm with Sims Metal. We're a scrap metal recycler. We're global. I happen to be sitting in Baltimore, Maryland, which is the heart of the Mid-Atlantic region. And I run the commercial non-ferrous department. So that means we buy and sell copper, aluminum, brass, stainless steel, and then prep it and ship it out, export or domestically. And so how we touch the construction industry is, there's some scrap that comes off of new construction, plate and structural cutoffs, but really where we come in is actually on the demolition side, preparing for new construction. We buy a lot of demo scrap in the area. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. I started out as a scrap buyer and have had various roles. And now I'm a director at Sims.
And when you say ferrous, what does ferrous mean? We're not talking about a Ferris wheel, right? We're talking, it's
right.
Ferros, right? It's spelled Ferros. What does that mean?
Right. So ferrous is just as wild as any Ferris wheel you've ever been on. So ferrous is a steel product. So the magnet sticks to it, right? So it's, sheet metal, it's plate and structural, it's rebar, the things that go into building a building. And then non-ferrous is basically anything that a magnet doesn't stick to. So again, that's the copper pipe in your house or the brass doorknobs, the downspouts, copper downspouts, things like that. So that's the distinction between ferrous and non-ferrous.
Got it. And how big would you say your company is?
So it's pretty big. I'm new to Sims. I'm on my third year, but as I said, they are a global corporation. We're headquartered in Australia. Our North American headquarters is in New Jersey. And I'm kind of spitballing here, but I would imagine we have 2,500 employees in North America alone.
Okay. Yeah. So 35 doesn't seem that big anymore. Definitely a big operation. So how did how do I say this? Like, where would either of you be looking for talent? And like, what kind of career opportunities are with either business or maybe just, the metal industry in general? Where would somebody start their career path? Would you recommend?
So I get the privilege of doing initial interviews here at Brightsmith, and anyone that has the word metal at all on their resume is an instant interview. Metal is such a weird, unique market, and I realize that not all construction involves it, but if there's the word metal and someone who's in scrap or someone who's a machine operator, an installer, so people that actually have some sort of installing background of the products that we paint for, it's an instant interview because they just understand the world and what metal is and all of that. I can tell you, the business that I work for is a division of ATAS International, which is a metal roofing and siding manufacturing company. And they love to tap into the talent of people in the construction industry because you're there working with their product hands-on day in, day out. You know the product so well. Some of the star employees come from contractors or people who've been working, you said, swinging the hammers and wearing the steel toe boots. That's the talent they're looking for because they understand the product and how it functions and works day to day with what it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to be. So honestly, the people who are in construction day in and day out, that's a prime candidate for coming into the manufacturer's world.
And would you say somebody has to have college degree, college background, or does it depend on the role?
I would say it might depend on the role. But to us, so like I said, we're a small family business. The experience you have and the technical expertise you bring is more valuable in many cases than a degree.
Got it. So it's not a prerequisite. Everybody's on a case-by-case basis, but like I said, nobody really knows that I have an MBA. They're more interested in what projects I've built. Anna, what about you on your end? What kind of opportunities are available coming into, your niche, and what type of education is a requirement, or is it more experience?
Sure. So I think specifically in scrap metal to the commercial division, it's like retail, it's like reverse sales, right? So we're buying product instead of like selling you a product. So anyone with sales, marketing, customer service experience of any kind are people that we're going to look at. I agree with Tiffany, though, if anyone has experience in the industries that are sort of connected to us, so that's contractors, HVAC guys, plumbers, construction, demo, they are going to have an elevated awareness of scrap metal recycling and logistics often, and what that takes. So that is experience that lends itself well to being in scrap metal in general. And commercially, because this is sort of a sales oriented position, we do use a lot of technology. So I would say that degree is not required, but it is often helpful to have, some business experience, some leadership training of some sort, as well as some, the ability to use technology to get the job done. So, but Tiff is right; it's nuanced depending on the position.
Yeah, and I'm not, I think common misconception with a lot of the content that I put out is that it's like anti-college, and it's not the case, right? Like, I have a mechanical engineering degree. College is a good path, but it's not the only path, right? And there are a lot of lucrative opportunities, whether it's in construction or one of the parallels of construction, or support or manufacturing, whatever you want to call it. To make a good living for yourself, no matter where you're coming from, no matter who you are or what shape or size you are. So when we talk about sales, because I've had a few people in sales on here, and I can't put a finger on how young people view sales. Mm-hmm. What's the compensation like on the sales side? And I think on your end, you are more heavily sales, and then once you get the material, it's about what to do with it on the back end. And then Tiff, obviously you have salespeople, but then there's a manufacturing component, which is a little bit of a different side that people can go into, or manufacturing, basically, making products and putting them together and actually getting them out the door, right? So for sales, I do think it's a weird sell for people, unless it's young people like business development, because they like the idea of taking people golfing and going on boats and stuff like that. But when they hear the word sales, I think it's a tough appeal. So what would you say to somebody to entice them into sales, and what is the compensation like? Is it hourly? Is it commission based? What's that look like?
Yeah. Well, I would say that scrap metal is very lucrative, but it's also very nuanced, right? The scale of your business, the geography is really going to matter. Generally speaking, though, these commercial buying positions are salaried with full benefits, and often, depending on the organization, there are like bonus plans available. That is something that I have seen across the industry in larger scrap metal companies. So I think that it's certainly something worth pursuing. I've never worked retail, but I think that one of the advantages to being in a sales position like this is that, you really do have a target audience. And if you know where to find them, it's a lot less like cold calling and a lot more like a warm lead. And if you're in sales, that can entirely change the tenor of your day, whether you're cold calling all day or whether you're approaching people that you feel like are really interested in your product. So I think that this is a great career. I started off as a scrap buyer. I had been working in occupational health, and I had a sales and marketing position. So I came into this industry with absolutely no metal knowledge at all, but I had a sales and marketing background and a communications background. And I think that was really something that at the time, the company that hired me was looking for, and that I've even taken into my own hiring is I don't necessarily expect people to come in knowing scrap metal. That's something we will teach you. But there are, the ability to communicate, the ability to relate to people, is not something that you always can be taught. And so when you see that in people, I really like to tap into that and see where we can go with that.
Before I go on to Tiff, because I think it's a different kind of sell, but you just hit on two things that I try to tell people all the time. Number one, it is an industry that you can break into without experience. I think there is a common misconception that without the experience or without years, you're not going to get paid. You're not going to get the opportunity. But with the right mentorship, if you know what you're looking for and you know how to navigate that, you get a little bit of help. I think that's the difference between even maybe somebody like Tiff who grew up in the business, right? Like you knew the path on how to get there, right? So the second thing that I try to tell people is that the two most important skills that you can have, no matter what you do, sales and communicate, right? So Anna, what would you say to somebody? What's the best way to develop sales and communication skills? Do you have any advice for somebody?
Yeah, I would say that, networking plays a big part in that. When you know how to sell yourself, when you can confidently walk into a room and talk to strangers, those are two huge steps. You can have all of the business acumen and be able to research all of the leads and Google all of the things. But if you can't confidently present yourself and your business to someone, then it's a hard sell, quite frankly. So I think that networking is a huge part of what makes a successful entry-level salesperson work, as well as working on continuing to learn about whatever industry you're in or you think that you're interested in. And I'm just going to add one more, which is I think really having an open mind. Earlier in my career, I took a lot of assignments that at the time I didn't necessarily love or didn't really understand how that was going to pan out for me. But what I couldn't see at the time was that my mentor was saying, if she understands this business like from top to bottom, there's really nothing that she won't be able to do. And so taking those operations assignments, taking those transportation assignments, taking those yard assignments really served me well. Had I said no, which I could have done, I think my career path would have been much different.
So it's interesting what you said. So I did a personal growth, like a self-improvement type program for a year, and it was called Live Hard. Some people know it as 75 Hard. That's like the short version. But for 30 days, one of the tasks was that you had to go speak to a person in public and find out something about them. You know what I mean? Like have an actual in-depth conversation. And when I was describing that to a young man in my neighborhood who's like a junior in high school who, he asked me for advice because I'm a younger parent in the neighborhood. He was like, but why would you want to do that? I don't understand. It's like, you have to be able to talk to people. And not only that, but like listen to what they have to say. And I think a lot of young people, when they talk about sales or generating conversation, they think that it's all selling, like it's all speaking to somebody. when in reality, a lot of what it is poking the bear, shaking the proverbial tree, see what comes out, and listening. That's how you build rapport. You get people to talk about themselves, right? You ask questions to get them talking about themselves. That's what they like to do, right? That's what makes people like you. And then to also listen so you understand their needs, right? Because then you know how to serve them. Then you can get to the selling part, right? But the whole front end of that, like the 7 steps of sales, is all about getting them talking and listening.
I agree. If you listen long and hard enough, they will tell you exactly what they're looking for. And then you can sort of tailor your presentation or whatever is happening to it to address those needs. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Tiff, again, you're in a different kind of sales situation. And then I want to talk about the manufacturing, but what are you guys looking for at your company for sales? What type of experience? And then if you can give any insight to what the compensation structure might be like, that'd be great.
Yeah, so because we are such a neat process, there's not a whole lot of coil coaters out there. We sell to manufacturers. So our customer base is probably very much compared to other industries, considered small. So we don't really have sales. We know who the players are who use the product that we sell. And our job is to put people out there who will cultivate the relationship. And it's like managing the relationship. And so it's not a typical commission-based whatever. The salary structure, I understand varies different from coder to coder, but because we are such a small player, we are not doing any kind of commission or hitting sales targets or whatever. We have customers, and the intent is to grow every customer, but we're not setting official anything like that. But what we like to do is get into their facilities and see what they're making and understand how their product is made and the processes they use. And a lot of times we'll walk in there we're selling them piece X, and we walk out, well, now we can supply them A, B, C also, because we're seeing the whole picture now, and we're kind of meeting more needs that we didn't know that need to be met. So I'm going to echo both of your statements about getting to know your customer and kind of letting them lead so you can fully understand what their needs are. And it's been great for us. And I think that's true in all of manufacturing. You gotta listen to the customer and maintain that relationship. So as far as, I'm kind of want to echo a couple things that Anna said, specifically about networking. And it's funny because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, well, younger Tiff hated going into a room, not knowing anyone, or showing up to a networking event, and just I'd grab a drink, push myself to talk to one person, and get out. Well, now that's not the case. It's still hard. I still hate networking, but I realize that it's very important, and it's easier for me now because you just have to practice, and that is how you develop the relationships. And that's a good salesperson is someone who can walk into the room and not be afraid to approach anybody. You have no clue who you're going to meet. And for me personally, I find that if I'm just me, just being genuine Tiff, there's no sales Tiff, because that's a big part of my job, and operations Tiff, it's all the same. Or at home with my kids Tiff, it's Tiff the same all the way around. I find a lot of success in that, because whoever you're trying to network with equally hates networking. Yeah. So if you're open and genuine and comfortable with them, they'll be the same with you most of the time. So I think I'll echo Anna's statement there about networking being absolutely key to success as in a sales role.
Everyone loves authenticity, right? And people to be, transparent with them, to level with them, not feel like they're getting the car salesman, pitch or anything like that. And I think the more that you practice asking people questions and taking genuine interest in people, the more natural it becomes that you're interested in what they have to say and get people talking. And, the authenticity, comes out. Nobody likes anybody fake, right? And nobody likes having to maintain that. That's why people hate small talk, right? Because small talk means you don't give a shit about what you're talking about to whoever you're talking about. So that's sales. But Tiff, what about on the production side? What kind of opportunities do you guys have, and what is that, what is that job like, maybe on the production floor?
So the majority of the opportunity we have here, so we have 35 employees. I'd say there are 6 office jobs, maybe 2 or 3 of them are true office, and the rest are some sort of hybrid or on the production floor. In the maintenance department, we have the electricians, the engineers, the maintenance mechanics, we have operators, we have machine operators, we have material handlers. So we're big fans of cross training here. The more you know, the more valuable you are to the process. And so we've had, my favorite story to tell is a guy literally walked in off the street, and we're not on a busy road, we're an industrial complex, so he had to seek us out, I guess. Walked in, had zero experience in manufacturing at all. He ran a bagel shop, and bagel shop closed down, and he was looking for work. He was in a hard spot, and he was my best operator. Totally taught him everything, but just, you know, the person he was, the core values he had that aligned with our core values. We said, we got to teach him. Just like Anna said, we can teach you everything you need to know about it. We just want that person, the personality and who you are to shine. And that's what we want to bring onto our team. But man,
incredible.
There's a lot of opportunity in all industries. Yeah.
I'm fascinated with this story because I've had a few people on that have done similar things, but they're the person that walked in and tried to sell themselves. So was that evident in a resume that he handed you? How did that come across so quick? Because you only got so much time to get somebody's attention, right?
Yeah. I believed him when he walked in, and it was me who met him at the door, and just the eye contact, and you could tell he was going to be a hard worker. He worked at this place for a long time. So the fact that he was at one place for multiple years, almost a decade, I said, all right, so he's loyal. He's loyal to where he is. He wasn't afraid to talk to me. It wasn't like pulling teeth to talk to him. And he expressed, he's like, I've never done anything like this before, but I think I can do it. I will always give you the benefit of the doubt. So he trained, and pretty quickly he became one of our top guys.
You know, I have probably read, 500 resumes in the last 3 months. And I can tell when people are just trying to sell themselves as opposed to just saying, hey, you know, I want to break in. I don't have the exact experience that you want to talk about, but, you know, insert verbiage to make you feel exactly what you just said you felt when he came in. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to do that for the people that were already there, because you guys are a family-owned business. You've been around for decades, 30 some odd people on the manufacturing floor or the production floor. Do you have a tough time with turnover? How are you keeping those people happy?
We don't. So a lot of the folks that are working here have been here longer than I've been alive, which is kind of cool. I love to jab that at them when I'm giving a tour, and I'm sure that makes them feel good. But I think it's the leadership team that we've built here, and them being just the right people for the job, the genuine, authentic selves here. We want them to be happy, the team, the production team to be happy. It's a hard job. It's hot in the shop when it's hot outside. It's cold in the shop when it's cold outside. But there are little things we can do to make your day go easier. Communication about everything from what we're running that day to any hiccup we anticipate happening, business down the road. We like to communicate all of them so it's very clear. They know what to expect the next day, the next month, the next year. Trends that we're seeing in business, they are aware of all of that. It's a relatively flat structure, which I think is important too. So I travel sometimes, but when I'm here, my door is always open, and I can tell you every single one of the guys' names and how many grandkids they have, and what they like doing in their free time. I think that's really important, not as just leadership, but as being a part of an effective team, is just enjoying the people you're with and respect throughout the entire organization. So we like them to feel part of the family here, which I think is the reason why we have such low turnover and why we have such long timers.
So there's a few things that I want to ask you about there. Number one, so typically I always say there's 3 things that you have to do to keep people. You got to pick 2 out of the 3 anyway. One is compensation, one's appreciation or respect, right? People want to feel like they're appreciated, and then opportunity. So you very clearly have the appreciation / respect portion. Are you leaning into is it compensation, opportunity? I mean, obviously they wouldn't stick around if they didn't have, one or the other.
I like to think we're working in both of those, but the thing that we're strongest in right now, I would say, was the opportunity. So growth here looks like learning new skills, and that's how compensation is adjusted. So the more you know, the more positions you can fill, the more valuable you are, and that's reflected in a rate. So our saying here is, we want you on the bus, and whatever seat you are comfortable in, that's where we want you. So we may try you out at operator A position, and you try it for 3 months and you decide you don't like it, but we really like you and really want you to stay on the team. Let's pick something else. So growth, I think our employees have a big say in where they go and what they do. And, they own that. And if they want to stay where they're at forever and ever, that's okay. But the growth doesn't necessarily come in the form of rate changes. And some people are happy with that. That's okay. But then there are some that are, want to advance and advance. And the more you know, the more opportunity you have for growth.
Yeah, I think one of the common misconceptions that a lot of young people have is that they think that they want always to rise up a ladder. And if they heard anything about a flat structure, they would say, absolutely not. I want to be the CEO. Every kid that comes out of college wants to be in the C-suite, in the second month. But especially in these industries, I think a lot of people, when they get in a couple of years, they realize that they just they like finding something that they like to do and making good enough money to provide a good lifestyle for themselves and their family. And then they're comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like the world needs that too. It's not a bad thing. But I like what you said about the opportunity to get education, to make yourself more valuable, wear as many hats as you possibly can, and create the right work situation for you and get paid while you do it. I think that's something that a lot of people don't feel like they have, at different companies that they're at. They feel like they're stuck. They feel like they're pigeonholed, whether it be under somebody, or they feel like, they're made to price jobs or to sell jobs and they really want to build jobs or whatever that may be, right? They feel like they're stuck in their role. So I love that. Last question before we get to a little support and how you guys met. All of your people's grandkids. So that tells me that there may be a little angst about the age of some of the team. Is there a progression plan to replace them? Are you guys looking? Where are you looking? How do you plan on backfilling, your team when they go to retire?
Yeah, so that is definitely on the forefront of my mind. It is becoming increasingly difficult to find solid replacement candidates for our teammates that we have here. So we get candidates right now. I'd say we're not as proactive as we could be with finding new candidates, but we've approached the local technical people. They have a program for machine operators, and that's been an outlet that we've been looking for. We are in an industrial complex, and kind of everybody knows the players in the complex. And we'll have people come off the street from a company down the street, and if they're not treating their people right, people will go elsewhere. So I'd love to figure out another venue to find these people.
So I don't think I didn't
really are kind
you.
of particular in who we like to bring on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I didn't expect you to have
ahead,
the answer to, I didn't expect you to have the answer to everybody's prayers about how to find new people, because it's what I'm trying to convey to young people is it's a problem. Like people don't know where to find young people that want to come into, construction and the parallel industries. When the demand is out there, the demand's not going away for all building products and everything that we have under our sun in the building and construction world. That only means one thing, right? Like you're going to start charging higher prices because you have to pay people. It's going to be more expensive to get people and to retain them, and that's just where the opportunity goes. So if you were to bet, if you had like a board with all these different career paths in front of you, and you were to bet which one the compensation should be pretty good today and is going to get better and better and better and better, this is the industry that you want to go in. And what I think is very interesting from what you guys do, a lot of people, and I think this goes to the Votex too, those kids end up often going into building trades, right? They think that they're good with their hands. Thus, they don't want to have an office job, and they go into, carpentry or whatever it may be in the field. I have friends that love working with their hands, and they got into the construction field and they were like, man, this sucks. I don't want to sit in traffic to go into DC or Philly or Boston or New York. But they love, working at a sheet metal shop that they go to every day for the same hours, maybe a little bit of overtime. And, it's not nearly as much traffic to go in and out of the city. The hours are better, and it's just a better work-life experience for them to be on a production floor or a fabrication shop, and I don't think enough people think about that. It's just an option that I think that people, should think of. Go ahead, Anna.
I was wanted to say,
I am seeing that more and more. The I just want to echo that. Hours that you talked about, the standard hours and the no weekends. And I know that's true for my place. I can't speak for everybody. It's certainly not Anna's facilities, but that is a selling point for us, is that it's the same place. You're not traveling to different locations. You're here. The holidays are off. They're paid. It's just consistent. The hours are consistent. The days are consistent. That's been really appealing to the people I've been interviewing lately. So yeah, absolutely. Please look into the fringe of construction. There's a whole lot of opportunity there.
Anna, you had something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I also think as employers and people who are, hiring, that it really behooves us to think outside of the box. And that includes the way we literally write job descriptions. So it is obviously important to talk about the job, but I think talking about culture also really helps, and writing job descriptions and, job postings in a way that do open up the people who are reading them to think, maybe that I could do that. Maybe that would be interesting to me. And so, I think talking about soft skills are really important, because then that opens up a whole new world of applicants. And I think we are all realizing that the more diverse your workforce is, the better the results, right? And so I think that when your job postings reflect your culture and your interest in diversity of thought and diversity of experience, that it can yield better results in terms of people coming to you with interest. So it's just the opposite end of the spectrum. How do we attract good talent also is in how we write our job postings.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think it goes both ways. I think it's the same thing with resumes too, right? Like I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about resumes, and I'm like, especially with young people coming out, just breaking in, like, I don't care about your job at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't care about what courses you took in college. If you know things about the industry, like, a certain process, or, if you've had some sort of training, like, tell me what you know, tell me what you can do, just so it jumps right out at me, just so I know right away, right? And that's just like a different way of writing a resume. But I think you're right. It's the same thing. And one of the episodes that I had with a guy who started a plumbing company in Massachusetts, he doesn't advertise to clients. He advertises to show his culture on social media to attract talent. And plumbing is the worst trade shortage out of all the trades. He's been able to get a team of 60 plumbers when nobody can find one in 3 years. And it's because he's pushing culture. He's promoting it on social media. He's creating this, a narrative that's attracting people. So I think you hit it dead on. And I think that's where all industries are going to go. Now, when we talk about, this is a great segue. This is good. So when we talk about diversity, especially in what I would call blue collar industries, and you guys are definitely a blue collar industry, the both of you, women are underrepresented. And Anna, why don't you talk about how you guys met, what AWMI is, and what that's done for you?
Sure. So AWMI is the Association of Women in the Metals Industry. It was founded in 1981, and its sole purpose is to help promote the growth of women in metals-related industries to leadership positions. And so joined, I think in 2011. I was working for a fabulous family-owned scrap metal company, but I didn't have any women colleagues, no women leaders or mentors. And I just knew that I was going to need more support if I wanted to take my career to the next level. So I joined AWMI, and through AWMI, they have chapters all over the United States. And Tiffany was a member of a sister chapter, and we were in the same region. And I met Tiffany, and, she spoke earlier about how the Tiffany you see today is the Tiffany you see tomorrow in all settings. And she's just such a wonderful example of someone who is kind and compassionate, but also pragmatic and knows what she wants and wants to help people achieve their goals alongside of her achieving hers. And so I just feel like we were kindred spirits, and I would not have met her had it not been, for AWMI, which ended up being an incredibly supportive organization overall that I really feel helps me not just forge personal friendships, but some really important professional relationships. So that's my short AWMI answer.
Tiff, what say you?
I joined around the same time. So it's 2010. I'm celebrating my 15th year this year, which is very exciting. I think it's important to note. So we say Association for Women in Metals Industries. Our group touches on so many industries in the metals industry. So we have scrap, we have coil coaters, we have building panel manufacturers, we have steel mills, we have aluminum mills, we have copper, people who sell copper, and they're all over the place. We have production supervisors to HR executives to salespeople to general managers to customer service reps. So you don't have to be in scrap or coil coating. You can touch metal in any sense and be a part of this association. So I found AWMI because I was walking a trade show called MetalCon, which is popular in the construction industry. So I was walking the show floor, and my boss turned and said, "You should join that." They had AWMI had a booth. They said, "You should join that." And I was okay, sure, boss. Yep. So I did, and never looked back. We were the Philadelphia chapter then, and quickly joined the board. The Philadelphia chapter board, which is how I got to meet Anna, and have loved my journey since day one. What's cool about AWMI for me in a small family business is that there's no massive corporate program for women in leadership here. I gained a lot of my skills through the AWMI. I was able to push myself and work on the networking that I hate. And giving presentations and public speaking and organizing events and making a budget, all these skills I was able to do in this association that was there for me. I could fail safely there and learn all these new skills I could bring back to my job.
Yeah. So networking, obviously the big one, opportunities to do that, opportunities to practice, professional development, which is huge. And one thing that's overlooked, and I think, if I'm being honest, many people are either disingenuous about or don't like, is when there are groups set for people that aren't me, white men, right? And the narrative being that everyone has the same opportunities, and that's crap. I don't want to hear crying or anything like that. And I know that when I was younger, I kind of felt that because, I had a tough upbringing, right? And like the notion that I had any advantage over anybody was something that I was offended by until I started mentoring younger people. And I realized what power can be there by seeing people that look like you in industries and having those as, advocates or, what some people might call a rabbi, somebody to go to, a mentor. What is that, Tiff? What has that meant to you? Whether it's for yourself or maybe, a role that you've been able to play for another younger woman coming into the industry. How important is it? So
one of our cornerstones is mentoring in the AWMI, and we do create a formal program where if you have something and you don't have anyone in your circle, your close-knit circle, you can reach out to the AWMI and we'll match you with someone who's expertise in that. But for me, especially with my, I work for my family. My family is all around. I'm not going to go to them to complain about someone in my familial circle. So like an Anna was a phenomenal mentor for me. I'm in situation X. My heart is telling me to do this, but what do I do here? And it's someone to give me a unbiased opinion with a lot of experience behind that opinion, to guide me to make the best choice for me. So it's been invaluable because I can kind of keep my cool in the situation here and stay professional in my role, knowing that I have this army behind me, and knowing that I have just a phone call away. I can call 5 women who are not related to my specific job or even in coil coating to give me the direction that I need. So it's been a big part of my career. And I saw that you had a physical reaction to what I just said too. What do you got on this one?
Well, first, when you were saying that people sometimes are in opposition to groups that don't look like them, I think that's a really important thing to acknowledge. And so one of the things about AWMI I wanted to acknowledge was that we are not for women only. We're for women and men. 25% of our membership is men, and we love men and we need men as our allies. But I do think that from a mentorship perspective, so you guys have touched on a couple of things, that having someone that looks like you is incredibly important, right? It gives you something to aspire to. having someone who is in the unique position to understand the challenges that are facing you is a real blessing. And when you are in an industry like manufacturing or scrap metal recycling, where the majority of women in the industry are in an accounting HR function, to be the ops manager on the production floor or be the only female scrap buyer in the room presents its own unique set of challenges. And so to have a group that you can go to who can say, I'm not exactly in your shoes, but I have certainly been you in a very similar experience. It really does help you, to Tiff's point, keep a clear head, gives you someone to bounce ideas off of. And, there are just things that are really unique to being a woman in this industry. And so to have a large group of women to go to have a formal program where you can be matched with someone that really fits whatever need or situation you have, I just can't say enough good things about it. And I feel confident that had I not joined AWMI, I don't think that I would be where I am today. It has given me a lot of confidence. It's given me incredible networking skills. I've had the opportunity to see mills and production environments that I would have never had access to on my own. And that those sorts of things can really help further your career. Just can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, one analogy that I would use is like we're all dealt a hand, right? And the physical description of how we were born is the hand that we have, and we might get frustrated sometimes because we don't know how to play that hand. And sometimes talking with somebody, whether they look like you or not, but it helps if they fit the same avatar that you are. They may be able to help you realize how to better play that hand. You know what I mean? You might not even realize that you have certain plays, or, maybe it's a different perspective or a different twist or a different angle that you can take. And those things all help, right? It's all part of why having a mentor and an army behind you, as you said, is so important. So AWMI and any kind of organization or group like this, these are all good things to get and to become a part of. And so many young people I talk to think that they should get paid to go to networking events and like be part of these things because it's their time, but you're investing in yourself, and you might not see a return for that time today, but where it takes you in your career, maybe it's 5 and 10 years, the person that you become will be the return. So it's definitely something that everybody should want to be involved in.
Absolutely. And I also think that it's just unique to be. Yes, please. Sorry.
No, keep going. I think like the thing you're further ahead than me. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's also, and this transcends industry, but just being a working mother is also like an interesting position to be in. And I'm not sure that is always openly and like transparently discussed. The challenges of being a working mother in any environment. You slide that into a male-dominated industry, a production industry with long days, and full hours, is again, it's just a unique position to be in. And so if there are any women in male-dominated industries listening or watching this, I would say that it's critical that you find whatever support you think you need to help you be the best person, at work and at home and friend that you can possibly be, because it is hard sometimes to pull it all off. And if you are someone who's younger, who wants to climb that ladder, it's good to have people to bounce life scenarios off of, Ike, So it's a unique situation, to be in, to be a mom in a male-dominated industry, but it's something that definitely needs to be discussed.
Listen, I have a 10-week-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and my wife is a working mother. She goes back to work on Monday, which is going to be, it's going to be something, right? And I can't tell her certain things, right? Like I just don't know. If there was one thing that I underestimated in becoming a father, it wasn't necessarily the workload that came with being a father, but being a husband, right? Because I don't experience the same things that she experiences. I haven't been there. I haven't had the body things going, the struggles that she has going on physically or mentally. And it's great to have, somebody that has been through there and how to balance those things and how to keep your career going and not like absolutely lose your mind, as you become, especially a new mother, right? Because it's your first time around the block, or, really, I guess, you're always learning because every month being a parent, it's like something totally new. It's a new challenge, right? Tiff, I believe Tiff, you have kids as well, right? What do you say to
8 and 4?
So what do you say to, one of the things that I hear a lot from young women is that they don't want to be mothers at all. They just want to be totally career, driven people. I think it's sad because being a parent is an amazing thing. But they feel like they can't fully go at their career and be a mother at the same time, or one might be holding you back from doing the other. What do you say to those people, and how do you balance? I mean, basically, running a business, a 35-person business, but also a home with 2 kids, 2 boys.
Yeah. So I am very much if you do not want to have children, that is totally on you, girl. You do you type view. But I'm an avid reader and I love all the podcasts, and you can hear both sides of the argument. You can't have it all. Oh, wait, you can have it all. And there's no such thing as balance. You're suffering in one side or the other. You'll be giving in more, and then the other side is less. I don't know what to believe. All I know is that I take it a day at a time. And I couldn't do it. And this is for you, Ike. Your recommendation from me is just support her. I have an incredibly supportive husband, and the way our relationship works and the way my career works is that mine is number one. And we made that clear before getting married. And, my job is what dictates where we live. And, as he's progressing in his career and he's, getting the promotions and he's doing better for himself, it gets a little tricky with scheduling. And now the kids want to do every sport. And I can't be at the office if I want to also coach soccer. Or I have to tuck you in at night and I can read you the story, but then I have to come down and work on my laptop for 3 hours before I can go to bed. So I don't know if I believe in any of it. The whole you can have it all or you can't. There's no way. It's just a day at a time. And I feel like when I'm with them, I'm 100% present in their lives. And I do coach their soccer teams, and I'm at every baseball game. And I feel like I'm doing a great job in the wife department. And home cooked meals, not all the time. I just feel like I have to be okay with what I'm doing, and not think too hard and getting upset about, I wish I could cook more at home so they'd have healthy home cooked meals. We're getting through the day, and we're doing it together as a family. And I'm happy with what I'm providing as a wife and a mom. And I think at one point when I was younger, I may have felt differently about that. I did have someone say to me, if you have children, you will not grow as quickly. So one of my bosses flat out told me that, and I was kind of stunned and hurt, and didn't want to believe it. And at the end of the day, I wanted to be a mother, and I'm glad I chose that path. Do I think it held me back? No, I don't. I think I'm in the role that I was supposed to be in, and I think it took the same amount of time had I not have kids to get here.
Right.
I'm so happy with my life. I'm glad I chose the way, but I really could not do it without a supportive spouse. So,
yeah. So just to be clear, Anna, before you go, because I want to hear what you have to say, I would never push anybody to have kids if they don't want them. Like, it is hard. It is, It is the hardest. It is the most rewarding thing. It is also the hardest thing. I just think there's a narrative out there that I don't know. It's just right. Not some. It's just something that I tell people, like, you should really think about it, and don't just make a decision, too early or in haste, or because you don't know what. I look at my life differently now in my mid-30s than I did in my mid-20s, right? So just at a minimum, leave the door open, and it can be done. I mean, you're like you just said, you don't regret it. You're obviously very successful. And Anna, what do you have to say about the balance of being a mother?
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, one, I've known Tiffany long enough to know that she's doing it all beautifully and with grace. So I wanted to say that. But I also wanted to say that I heard a very successful woman once say, you can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time. And I think that there is some truth in that. But I think something that Tiffany hit on that is probably the best piece of advice I've ever heard in my life is that wherever you are, be present. So when you're at work, be present, give your employees, your peers, your bosses, everything you can. And then when you're at home, give your spouse and your children and your friends everything that you can. And I think, boundaries are good. And I think, Tiff, laying out the expectations, I can read you one story, but then mommy has to go work, goes a long way. And I also would just like to say that I think that being a working mom with a successful career is such a great model for your children, regardless of their gender, right? It's fantastic when kids see moms happy and thriving. It's also really okay when they see you be human and struggling, right? Like, life is not easy. Like, it's lots of hard choices. Like, not every day is sunshine, but they see you love them and they see you get up and try, and I think that, I don't know. I think you're doing great, sweetie, I guess is my ending comment. I think you're doing great.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
I love that. So, part of the benefit of networking, right? And I think part of the benefit of this industry is you can go in so many directions, right? You can get into construction, then you go into manufacturing, you can go into sales, you can go into maybe being a representative for a client. And like, I've been able to work myself into a work from home position. So when we talk about, the ability to work-life balance and the ability to, and we talked about it with, working on the production floor, when we talk about the ability to get into an industry where you can have so many career paths presented to you at all times. And as you grow and you kind of change, because like I said, you're different in your 20s than your 30s, and your perspective on life and your priorities change. You can find opportunities to create a life that works for you, that's conducive to being a mother or a father. Like, I love that I get to work from home primarily, and that I get no commute. So like, I have an extra 2 hours with my son per day. And you both hit it on the head. This is like Stoicism 101. Be present wherever you are. Don't worry about your past, where you came from, failures. Don't worry about the future. You don't have to conquer the world in a day, right? You just have to do the right thing right now. Read the book, send the emails at night, maybe after work an extra 3 hours, whatever that may be. So what I'd like to close with, if I may, or before I give you guys an opportunity to give any kind of general advice, how do you get in? Does AWMI offer like any sort of conduit to young people looking to get in, where they can see job opportunities and posting, and maybe there's a little bit of mentorship getting that entry level job? Either Anna, go. You go.
Sure. So AWMI, we really strive for it to be accessible to anyone in their career. So you do need to be a member to do things like access our networking program, our mentoring program, and our jobs postings. We do take in job postings and distribute them, and that's a member benefit. And our dues are very, very reasonable. But you can attend any event that you like. We have members and non-member rates. And so if attending an AWMI event is of interest to you, you should go to awmi.org, check out the calendar, find one that's near you or an area that you're traveling in. And I would just recommend that you attend. And like, as I said, there are some member benefits, but in terms of educational opportunities, sometimes we do members only tours and things like that. But there's not a real high barrier to entry into AWMI. As Tiffany touched on earlier, a lot of related industries, service centers, trucking companies, mills, things of that nature. So anything that's like metal adjacent, we would love to see you. We'd love to have you attend an event and learn more about us.
Tiff, do you have anything to add to that?
I think for all the men who are listening, if you've thought about how do I support this young woman or any aged woman on my team, this is how you do it. You support them in coming to the events. You support them in their membership on stuff like this. And there's other associations of women focused too. There's women in construction and all that. But if you do touch the metals industry, please, please, please support them in their professional development and sponsor them to send them to the event. That's how you support the women on your team.
So I agree. I've heard that a ton. I used to co-chair, women in construction at my company, and without, calling any specific individuals out, one of the bigger complaints was that they didn't feel like they had support. It's like, oh yeah, they're over there doing the woman thing or whatever. Right. And even recently, we had a gay pride event at my company, and just being there, just taking part of it, just so that people see you and they know that like you support them for who they are and what their career goals and aspirations are. Just being present is a huge boost for people. It means a lot more than you realize. So before we end, I always like to throw it out there. If you have any advice to give, Tiff, I'll start with you. Do you have any advice out there for any young people looking at the industry, or just people in general?
I think getting outside of your comfort zone, and we've been talking about the networking aspect, and I'll stick with that today. I think that has probably one of the top things that I did for myself is get uncomfortable and volunteer for that assignment. Get on that board. Getting on the AWMI chapter board was huge in my career development. So get uncomfortable, volunteer for that thing, or take the tour, or say yes. It's uncomfortable, and it's going to help in some way or another. You can find the positive and growth in some way or another. So please say yes, please volunteer.
Yeah, it's like that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, right? His life takes off in all kinds of good directions when he starts saying yes to things. And, especially when you're young and you're starting out, like not only do you get the practice and all these good things, but you don't know what's going to come of it. And when you're young and you don't have a family or somebody to go home to, when you're kind of your own, free single person, it's much easier to say yes. So especially if you're young, I always tell people, like, just say yes, go. Every night of the week, whatever you got to do. You never know what's going to come of it. Anna, what about you? Do you have any advice for anybody who's listening?
And I think especially in the environment,
No, go for it.
The environment that we're in, where we're looking for talent. This is how you find the opportunities, is going out and meet the new people. So the people who are there are looking for you just as much as you're looking for them. So it could be a next career opportunity if you go, say yes and do it.
Yeah, listen, if you don't put your light in front of somebody, they can't see it, right? So you got to physically plant yourself in front of people as much as you can. Anna, what do you got? You got any good advice for the listeners?
Yeah, I think you guys absolutely nailed it. And I would just say, I'm thinking outside of the box in terms of careers and what a career path can look like is a part of saying yes, right, Tiff? So being open to new experiences. And I would say scrap metal, it doesn't seem very sexy, but it is something that when it gets in your blood, like, immediately, and you're a lifer. And maybe manufacturing and construction are the same, but I think, you don't know if you don't think outside of the box and try something new, try something off the path a little bit. So I think say yes is still the answer. It's still the piece of advice, but say yes to things that sound weird. Say yes to things that aren't conventional, say yes to getting dirty. Say yes to jeans and boots, you guys. Learn how to weld.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with learning how to weld. Well, listen, that was exactly 1 hour. So I think we did pretty good. I think this is a very impactful hour. I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm confident that this will meet the right people when it gets thrown out into the ether. Again, we have Tiff and Anna, AWMI, awmi.org. Is that where people should go?
You can find us on awmi.org. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We have some great chapters. Tiffany and I are in the Mid-Atlantic chapter. You can find them on Instagram and LinkedIn. So absolutely, look us up. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Okay. And if you want to get connected, reach out into my DMs, if I can point you in the right direction, I'm always happy to do that. Again, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at The Construction Mentor. You can always find this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And like I said, I appreciate you guys coming on. I will see everybody next time.